Hey guys, welcome back. So today I have an early farmer that's been on the Chia network. He has been growing with it since. And I think I'm going to just let him take over from this point on to explain to us what he has, what he's done, and what he foresees going forward. So, RyRy, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah. So Chia, quite the trip, right? Quite the trip indeed.
Very. The prices, I haven't even looked at a price because I don't want to keep on looking at the price, following the price. That just,
Well,
manipulates my mind.
there's two things about that. Like number one, the price action looks really, really eerily similar to Bitcoin from 2013. It went up to like 1600
Right,
and then
right.
dropped down to like the 200 levels, and it's like, in that crypto winter before 2017, and it's just like it's kind of scary. Like those same price
Right.
levels. It's like,
I mean,
okay,
for all of us that are still in on this, we would hope that that is
it happens.
a momentum that Chia would take, right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it's gonna go. I know kind of what some of the game plan is,
Okay.
because like when I got into this, how did I get
How
into
how
this?
did you get into this? Yes. How did you get into it?
I got hacked. That's how I got into it. Actually, I got hacked, and I got hacked and lost a lot of crypto, and I was an idiot, and like it was such a severe burn that I knew I had to be like super smart and be
Wow.
like 4 or 5 steps ahead of everything to like actually like do well. So I found I knew that some other technology other than what was going on right now, other than proof of stake or any of that stuff, was going to take a forefront within a few years, right? And so I was like, all right, well, where are they? And so I found Space Mesh at first. I still hope that kind of happens. And then Space Mesh, yeah, that led me to Chia, and so I started researching, like all these other hard drive coins, kind of the same way you got in, right? Like you thought your graphics cards are too expensive, like what?
Right. But you did happen to get in a lot earlier because you were plotting and
I
farming.
started researching them. I started in December of I
Okay.
guess last year. Yeah, December.
Let me get this
Yeah.
straight. So you started by because your account you were mining other crypto coins. Is that how
I
that
was
began?
looking into it. Yeah. I
Okay.
downloaded MassNet, trying to run a node. I downloaded Bitcoin HD, and their
Mm,
community seemed to be either non-existent or I just couldn't get it to work. And
right.
so not only did Chia work, there was the key base where I could ask questions.
Right.
And I got a really nice answer. I assume it was probably Kiwi. I'm honestly not sure anymore who it was, but testnet 18 didn't work. Like it had a
Okay.
bug and didn't work. And so that's the problem I encountered for like 2 days. And all you had to do was use testnet 17 and you could plot on that. And
Okay.
so yeah. And it's funny, man, like the early test nets, it took forever to plot. Forever. The
I've
big
heard. Yeah.
breakthrough. Yeah, the big breakthrough was like February, like testnet 24, like that accelerated by double,
Are you
like
willing to share at least how much you actually farmed to some extent?
less than the other guy that you interviewed. Yeah, I'll tell you that
Okay.
much. Yeah. Yeah, I was just part of the 100 terabyte army. I'm in the hundreds. I didn't, like a petabyte was just like, what, really? Like, I mean,
Yeah. That
especially back
was
then.
extreme. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
extreme.
it was, and only a few people, maybe like 10 or 20, that you could identify. Probably, I mean, that we're probably doing that, and you're just like, all right, guys, like go for it, But
So what's
um,
keeping you motivated now that you've done what you've done in the beginning, right? So you've done the test net and you've achieved what most people only dream of. And so what's keeping you motivated now to keep on going?
So January, I'm plotting and I'm almost filled up all my drives, and plotting's addictive and fun, and I'm trying to like get an excuse to buy more, hardware, right?
Have you been?
Since then, no.
Okay.
Just because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And they flat out tell you that, it's like get the
Right.
used drives or get the free drives or whatever. And
Right.
they're right about that for a lot of reasons.
And you are on currently on 400 terabytes, right? Still
North.
north
Yeah,
of that.
north.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, so I kept researching it, and this is
Hmm.
before the business white paper came out. So
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking like, I mean, replays of the old YouTube videos and interviews and like reading the tea leaves right here. It took 5 weeks of a slow drip, but I finally got what they were after. When the
And
light
what,
bulb went off,
wait. All right. What's that? All right. That, yeah, I know you're going towards the light bulb. Explain to us in detail and slow it down a little bit because I think we all want to know what it is that they're trying to achieve.
they told you. They told
Okay.
you, and they've been telling you from the very beginning. It's just nobody thinks about what it is. They say they want to be money, right? Okay, let's unpack that for a bit.
Okay.
Like, market cap of money is absolutely massive. It's quite a lot. Like Bitcoin, $1 million. That's just a $20 trillion market cap. Okay, all right. Bitcoin could probably go there. To be honest, like probably
Right.
could. They're after the rest of the market. I'll just put it that way.
The
They're
rest of the
after
market.
everything else that
Anything and
Bitcoin
everything that has to
won't
do with
be.
transactions.
Yeah, and what's what they're going after. Now, they probably won't get all of it, of course. You get a snippet of it, it's going to be pretty big.
Right. Right.
So
So I mean,
that's
is it safe to
that's
say
it.
like they want to be
That's it.
like a PayPal?
More, man. Like honestly, like, and I've heard them talk about like, like being like PayPal or Western Union or whatever. And I mean, that's still small change. I mean,
Mhm.
I know yeah, that's still, it's not like
I mean,
I mean, I
PayPal is
know
pretty
remittances
big.
are a big market, blah blah blah, but
Pay
yeah, but it's not as big as getting the institutions on board and actually like catering
well,
to developed countries.
I,
Like I mean, they're going after see, like I like to give credit where credit's due and say like Cardano, since at least 2017, they've been going after developing countries
going at their developing countries and they want
because they
to.
know that they could probably actually make it there.
Mm,
Chia is going after developed countries where the majority of the money is.
right.
United States, Europe, Europe, whatever, all of them, Singapore, Japan, like,
Right.
um,
Okay. So that's interesting. I understand where that's leading to and where they're trying to develop themselves and brand themselves into that market, into that type of market. But how does that benefit us as farmers and people who are planting the coin? Because that sounds more like the business aspect where the IPO, the stock,
if they adopt the Chia blockchain, they're going to have to perpetually buy Chia because every single transaction is a burn. So everything that Ethereum just moved to with their last upgrade, Chia
Mhm.
was already building that from day one. So essentially, and that's why the inflation mechanism of 4% exists later on. Like 30 years from now, is because like every single spend is a burn basically.
Right.
To an extent. What those extents are yet to be seen, but that's in general how it's in theory supposed to work. So basically, what it is they're a company that's perpetuating a real bid for the token eventually. And I mean like a real bid, not like a hype, not like let's promise something we can't deliver, not the majority of what the market's
Now,
doing right
I
now.
have to say, I mean, Bitcoin was supposed to be that, and it has turned into an asset opposed to that.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Bitcoin was supposed to be that. But Bitcoin had a certain amount of flaws that it's good for certain things like store of value, right?
Mhm.
And that's where it's definitely started heading, definitely around 2017 for sure. But yeah, Bitcoin was supposed to be that, but the reality is it's just not good for money. I mean, Chia, when they got started, and I mean the early guys, like the two, when it really got started, they went around to institutions in 2017 and asked them like, Ethereum's here, Bitcoin's here, like why are you not using them?
Right.
And they got a lot of feedback, a whole lot of feedback, and they incorporated all of that plus about 400 years of financial history
How do you
into Chia.
feel? I understand that she is trying to do all this, but at the same time, we see tons of new cryptos coming on
Mm,
board
mm,
and trying to
mm,
jump on that market.
mm.
Probably some of them, not all of them. I mean, there's so many that you can lose
Yeah,
track
yeah.
on what exists out there.
I mean the
How's
okay,
the
the
comp?
first.
How do you think the competition would be for Chia?
There is none yet.
Hmm.
I think there will be in the future because other projects that will come along are going to see what they're doing and figure out actually how to compete. But we're not there yet, and the reason why Chia blows 95% of what would be competition out of the water is because of Nakamoto consensus. I
Now, if
mean,
that's the
that's
case, right? If that's the case, why isn't anyone talking about it? Why isn't anyone fudding Chia?
Most
Like
people
it's
don't.
it's not out there like all these like a shitcoin could come out tomorrow and it just blows up for some reason. Like you see it and everyone's talking about it.
I
It baffles me sometimes.
Oh yeah, like Shiba Inu, and
Yeah,
like
anything.
yeah,
Moon, whatever,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
all these
yeah.
random coins. So
Well,
how does
I
that
mean,
work and how do you think that works opposed to how come Chia's been around for quite a minute now,
they don't.
2017?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the company themselves, the project has, they've
Right.
been in R&D mode, developing plots and proofs of space and time and all that for a few years, and
Well,
then
I won't say that there was totally no marketing to it because there've been a bunch of articles talking about hard drive mining and hard drive prices going up, and then it lasts for a few minutes and then it goes away again.
it does. It goes in cycles. Yeah.
Right.
So like the first hype cycle, like I missed out on, and apparently is when they announced Chia back in like 2017. Like people were really into it
Yes.
then.
Right. Right.
And then I kind of went away because they had to do some work, and then Mainnet was getting ready, and all of a sudden, there's like two Bloomberg interviews, at least minimum. And what it really was this time, I think, that popped it off was actually Caleb Curry. Ironically enough, like I
Hmm.
think it was him. Yeah, because he was the first YouTuber, and I remember
Mhm.
I remember plotting on the test nets, checking YouTube once a week to see like when when it was gonna hit
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. He definitely has history with it.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, I remember watching that first video. He was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna get into this," and like
Right.
he did.
Right. I
And
admit, I mean, I watched it too, and I saw how he built out his first rig, and he was recommending certain parts and on how to build it correctly or something like that
yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah, and he got into the Keybase, and like he kind of went with it. He kind of documented that process, and I think
Hmm.
that was a gateway for a lot of other people, for kind of what happened earlier this year. Because I mean, people talk about like the mainnet launch. It's like you didn't you got more Chia than you were ever going to get in the first 3 weeks,
Right.
not the first 6 weeks,
Right. Right.
not the first 2 months, like the first 3 weeks.
Right.
Which was, I mean, that type of growth was like far exceeded what I thought was going to happen,
Hmm.
and which is pretty much what everybody else thought was going to happen. I mean, there's the old interviews with the whales or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like
They.
nobody had any idea.
Right. Right. I mean, it's definitely taken some. Now with pools, are you any part of the 400 north or 5? Let's just say 400 terabytes. Are you part of any pools, or are you just
No,
doing everything all solo?
yeah,
And
yeah, still.
your winnings have been consistent.
Yeah, as consistent as they were early in the first like 2 months. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
not. I mean, well, okay, I take that back. Like, I'm obviously not winning the same rate, obviously,
Right. Right.
but when I say as consistent, I mean, I'd have a few days where they were pouring in, and then I'd have a few days where nothing was coming, and
Okay.
and you'd be having a heart attack, like checking everything,
Yeah.
like, am I
Yeah. To
doing
make
it?
sure. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Like everything's connected and
Yeah,
right. Right.
yeah. And sure enough, it would start back, it would
Okay.
even out, it would balance out over time. And so that's when I learned to just like relax with it. After the first time, I was worried. Second time, like, well, I've seen this again, and the third, fourth time, it was like no big deal. And
Right.
so, if I have a dry spell for, I mean, I could have one probably for like 2 months.
Now, I'm
And
sure you, like everyone else that I've spoken to in the early days who started this in the beginning with X amount of Chia, was really excited for the price of what it was when it first came out. What is your reflection on it now, based on the fact that it just keeps on going lower and lower and Bitcoin is popping up?
well, there's a lot right there. So, high price coming out. That 1600 pop went on hype that it was listing on Hobie.
Hmm.
So that top was that. Basically, you had an avenue for people to sell, so
Hmm.
people started selling, and then the sell pressure that you see right now. I think I'm under the impression that a lot of it's coming out of Asia. Man, they still got lockdowns over there.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, dollar bill, like if aren't necessarily there as they are in other parts of the world. If they were in a, I mean, needed to sell, like, I mean, one impression that I have, but back over the past weekend, watched some of the early AMAs, like
All
from
right.
earlier this year, and there was one thing that I'm okay quoting, that I think is rather hysterical if you look back. Um, Hoff called it. Hoff told you exactly how this was going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, we're going to give you our farmers are going to set the price, and we're going to give them over the next year anywhere between 20 million and 500, half a billion dollars worth of tokens. Look at the market cap.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
whatever they're doing and looking at, they kind of know, and yeah, and I don't think any of it really bothers them, because they're focused on building the tech for the next step, which we've
Okay.
seen them working on, which is Chia list, getting it out, and then their two kind of big clients right now. They were already trying to get those, and in the process of getting those, I already had some of them lined up, before
Mm-hmm.
mainnet even launched. And the fact that that's actually happening to me is kind of a big deal, because we'll see.
So do
uh,
you think that, I mean, it's just from my speculation and what I've been seeing on Reddit and all these other social platforms, are that people are just selling off their equipment. They're diverting their
good.
attention away from Chia. Do you think
Good.
that impacts Chia itself because it's not keeping people motivated? Like,
No, I
knowing what
anything.
knowing
Yeah,
what people already know now with Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these other coins, that you have a
that you've
history
seen.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
now you can actually use that as an example. But Chia is not
Yeah.
keeping that momentum. Why is that? What do you
Well,
think?
Ethereum and Bitcoin didn't keep that momentum. I mean, look, like, this is a
Well, there was
typical
nothing to compare it to. You know what I mean? Like, Bitcoin didn't have
but
anything.
even so, I mean, that's just people being people, and that's the markets being markets. I mean, it's like, you're gonna have like this euphoria, and then like things dip down like lower than where they should be, and it's called the purge. You're
Mm-hmm.
having a cleansing right now, basically. And you had that 2 or 3 times with Bitcoin and the miners alone, and Ethereum too. I mean, they prices are going up. They buy too much equipment, they overextend, prices go down. They bought the equipment on credit and whatnot, and they can't pay their bills, and so they're
Right.
having to sell out and go bankrupt and everything.
Right.
And I'm sure some people out there did that with Chia, to an extent. And it's just emotional tones. It's that's what it is. And you have the highs and lows are part of the game.
Right.
It's just how it is. And at least, to be honest, though, like Chia, when you were talking about having something to compare it to, Chia, you have a company that, once they do go public, is the most proven best mechanism to
Mm-hmm.
keep developing the blockchain. I mean, it's for the public joint, was it public stock, anyway, the joint public stock company or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
400-year-old model.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 400-year-old model that's been proven again and again and again to be kind of the best long-term model that we've had as humans so far.
Right.
So that's why it was chosen. I don't think that's a mistake. I think that actually makes a lot of sense, and I think because of that, that gives me, I mean, that combined with the fact that the team not only is good with the tech, but they also know, look, like, Bram can talk about booms and busts in the banking sector from
Mm-hmm.
like the 1840s.
Right.
Okay, like, the fact that the protocol engineer knows about that means a lot to me. It means
Okay.
a whole lot.
So the
Um,
fact that you have, I mean, it sounds like you have tremendous faith in all this.
I mean, when it compares to everything else in the crypto space other than Bitcoin, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I've weeded out everything else, and
So what's
I
preventing you from growing more than what you have now? Or you, maybe you're still putting hard drives here and there, not as intensely, but are you still
y-
growing your little network there?
it just doesn't make sense for me anymore. Because if I'm
Hmm.
right, like, I don't need to do anymore.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Like, I really,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
like, my the first 3 months of this year were pretty much all I need to do. The smartest thing I can do now is sit tight.
And hold on.
Yeah, just like with Bitcoin in the early days, all you
Right.
had to do is, the people who set on it and did nothing for 10 years were the guys who made out like bandits.
Now I know there's certain people that had farmed and have XCHs, and they needed to liquidate in order to grow. Have you done that with your setup?
I know some other people who have done that too. Yeah.
Do you think they regret it going forward? Like, I mean,
I
it's
don't
always going to
know.
be
I
hindsight
don't
later,
know.
but
I think it's with some of that type of stuff, it's like you're still trying to time the market. And
mm-hmm.
I took it as the first, several weeks of the network, I took it as the most I would ever get. Now, granted, I could have sold at like 1500 and bought the dip, at
Right.
150 and 10x my holdings.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I don't have a crystal ball. I mean, I've been trading for almost 10 years, like, but I don't compare it to. And all those exchanges at the very beginning were kind of sketchy. You didn't even know if they worked, like you
Right,
didn't
right.
know what was real or anything. So why take that risk, when I can set on it, wait for it to develop and see kind of what happens.